Hey guys, welcome back to K Reviews Books. Today we're going to be going through my TBR cart. It is here to the right of me. It is overwhelmingly full, and I apologize, my dog is gnawing on a bone as soon as I start to film. And on top of it, the bottom shelf to my right, also my TBR. Anyway, let's just jump into this video because I'm super excited to go through everything that I have to read. If you don't know, I'm on a book buying ban until I read every single book on my TBR. Why I do this to myself, I don't know. But let's get into the video. I'm gonna be totally nutty and just go through from bottom to top. First things first, on my TBR list is the Souls Trilogy Book 2. I've read Book 1. Her Soul for Revenge by Harley Larricks. And yeah, this is like an otherworldly romance. I'm pretty sure this guy's like half squid. Again, I don't read the back. I read the first book and it was about a demon and I was like, wow, I love this. So I bought the next two books and then just didn't pick them up. So next is, oh, this one I'm super excited for. This is book 2 in the Monsters and Muse series by Sav R. Miller. First book in the series was Promises and Pomegranates, and it was so good. It was like dark romance, like kind of Mafia Man style. I loved it, and it was like super kind of funny. Like, I loved it. So I'm hoping book 2 is just as good. Next is Cruel King by Rena Kent. I believe this is the first book in the Royal Elite series. I just randomly bought it and was like, oh, I'm gonna start it and then I'm gonna buy the rest of the books, and then never picked it up. Ding, ding, ding. This is about Levi and Astrid. I don't know how they fit in because I read their series, the really popular one, the Monster something series, and I hope it's good. The next one is Soul of a Witch, again. Trilogy Book 3. Again, monsters. She's a witch. Beautiful Graves by L.G. Shen. I've heard so many great things about L.G. Shen. I have yet to pick up a book, but you're gonna see a pattern here. I have like 70 books of hers. That's a bit dramatic, I know, but but yeah, Beautiful Graves. I can't even, let's read the back. They say first loves are oftentimes the end of one's innocence. Those words couldn't ring truer for cool. I don't know. Really fun. I think this is like a part of one of her series. This is Sinners of Saint Defy L.G. Shen, and it's just like a little novella, and I guess I bought this and was like, oh my god, I'm gonna read the series, so I have to have this. Kaylee. Okay, again. L.G. Shen! What are you doing here? Okay, The Devil Wears Black. I've heard so many great things about this book on TikTok. I immediately put it in my cart, I immediately bought it, and here we are, I haven't read it. So yeah, seems fun, super exciting. Yeah, I don't know. I go in and out of phases of dark romance books, so like you're gonna see that there's so many different phases of me in this. Choices being made. Anyway, another bad habit. Hi, my name is Kaylee and here's another bad habit. Hot take. Anyway, L.G. Shen, what are you doing here yet again? Anyway, this whole series, this is the Sinner of Saint series, which I think that novella goes to, and I bought every single book without reading it in the series. So yeah, I have no idea what these are about at all. I just know that he's bad news wrapped up in a good suit. Fine by me. If she falls, we both go down. Okay, he's got a squeaky clean reputation and a very dirty mind. Down for that. A liar, a con, a thief, and my savior. Love it. Anyway, so yes, I have this whole series here, and I'm kind of annoyed with myself that I bought the books that 3 out of the 4 have sprayed edges and the first one doesn't, and I would have loved to have the hot pink. I'm gonna do that. Okay, I'm dumb. Leave me alone, alright? Staying on theme, you guessed it, L.J. Shen. Hey girl, what are you doing here? Anyway, truly, madly, deeply. Heard great things. Her promos for this book when it first came out on TikTok were so fun, so amazing, and yeah, I bought it as soon as it came out. I was like, oh, new release, and then didn't read it. Anyway, I know. call me crazy, okay? I know. Ugh. Oh, Chantel Tesser. Chantel. Hey, girl. I love your book so much. I read the first 2 and crushed them within 2 days. I'm mental. But then I put a little bookmark in the 3rd book and never continued. Not because I don't like your books. I love them. Look how big they are. And then I got scared after reading 2 of the thick boys and was like, I need a break from reading thick, dark romances because I'm gonna go insane. Here we are. So I need to finish this series, and I've heard amazing things about this series too as well. This is the Dark Revenge romance, which I think is, I don't know, it's the same thing. Anyway, Madness Carnage, right? And I'm nervous to read this series, and I don't know if anybody watching this is going to get this reference at all, but I'm just going to state the facts. If you ever played Outlast, there's these 2 guys in Outlast that are nude, and they call the main character that you're playing as in the video game Little Piggy. And they like whisper to each other, and for whatever reason, when I read the 2nd book in this series, the guys who were involved in Madness and in Carnage remind me of those 2 guys. And I can't get the image out of my head, so I don't know how I'm going to picture these men, because that's all I can think about is those two guys in Outlast. Please tell me you know what I'm talking about, please. Like, I'm going to insert a blurred picture of them, because you need to know who I'm talking about. Like, you know never mind, forget it. Next up on my TBR is Little Strangers by Lee Rivers, and I've heard some crazy stuff about this book, and I'm really scared to pick it up, even though she's like little. Honestly, I should bump her up in my TBR, because she's like less than 300 pages, and it would be so... I just saw a sentence in that book. I'm gonna bump this up, I think, in my TBR cart to read this sooner rather than later, because I've heard some crazy things about this book, and I'm really excited to read it. Next up is a Sarah Kate series, but I only bought the first 2 books because my Barnes & Noble sucks really bad, and they never have anything, which I guess is a good thing, because then I didn't buy the whole series before I read it. Right? Anyway, so I have Praise. I have Eyes on Me, and this is the Salacious Players Club. And the books say she's too perfect to ignore and too forbidden to be his, okay? And he sees her as his little sister. She sees him as the love of her life. Okay. So yeah, I've heard great things about this series. I don't think I've ever heard one bad thing. So I'm like super excited to read this series and hopefully get into it. You know, again, I go through phases. If you don't know this, and I don't know if I mentioned this, I am a major mood reader. I have issues. And if I'm not in the mood, like, I go through phases. Like, this was during, all these purchases were made during my dark romance era, where I was reading back to back dark romance books. So I was reading a lot of dark romance at the time, so I made all these purchases, and then I was like, no, just kidding, I want to read fluffy billionaire romances. Miss, what? You just bought all these books? Anyway. Light fluffy romance, which isn't light and fluffy. I believe this book is very sad. It's Variation by Rebecca Yarros. If you don't know, I'm a Rebecca Yarros fan, but only the Emperor series. I have never once picked up another book by her. So my goal this year was to read at least 2 of her general romance books, because I believe she's coming out with another romance book before she comes out with the 4th book in the Emperor series. Don't even get me started. Anyway, so yeah, to hold myself from going off the rooftops over the Emperor series, we're just gonna read some other books by Rebecca Yarros. Next on my TBR is Deadly Vow by J.D. Ronan, and this is a book that has been on my TBR list since I started reading like 2.5 years ago, and well, I'm acting like I didn't read before that. I started picking up reading again as a hobby 2.5 years ago, and I saw this book on TikTok, and I was like, this sounds so good. I put it in my Amazon save for later, and then I bought it like a couple months ago, and here we are. I don't know, guys. I just have an issue, and that's why we're on a book buying ban. Anyway, Daydream Hannah Grace. I read Wildfire and I read Icebreaker. I absolutely ate those up. You guys know in my last video I talked about this. I ate that shit up. Anyway, Daydream. I'm so excited for this. The characters are so cute. I just love the character art on like the books. They're so adorable. The Bridge Kingdom by Daniel L. Jensen. I've heard insane things about this freaking story, but I have not been able to pick up a fantasy book since Onyx Storm. Anyway, so I want to get to reading this one day, but I haven't gotten there yet, guys. Okay, baby steps, all right? We're gonna try. I want to try at least one fantasy romance. Like, get me out of that freaking slump, please. Anyway, if you saw my last video where we talked about my April hopefuls, this is one of the ones that has been on my list for a while. You know I'm in my Geneva Rose era right now. So, One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. I'm like 55 pages in at this point, and yeah, it's super cute, super good. Well, not cute, it's a thriller, and there's murder. But anyway, super fun. And anyway, super cute. Shut up. Oh. Lucy Score, Story of My Life. We're not going to get into the meat and potatoes of this. Kind of reminds me of Lauren Asher's one series where the guy's like a contractor, and that's what this is kind of similar to, at least I think. So super excited to read this book, and yeah, I love Lucy Score. I can't complain. Like, all of her books like have always been a 3 or 4 star read for me. So it's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, YA thriller. It's a TV show. I just want to read them so that I can watch the TV show too, and I've heard they're really great. I'm super excited to read this series. Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. Again, I got this as a, what is it, the $5 book a month in Barnes & Noble in the cafe. So I picked this up, and then it had the sprayed edges, so I was like, okay, it's $5. This is a popular book talk book. I believe it's YA. I'm just gonna get it. And I've heard great things, and Yana talks about this. If you do not follow Yana, as a big book talker on YouTube, and she does book talk too, and I follow her religiously. We have the same taste in books usually, and she said this book was really good, so I got it. Next up is The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn, and this is something I've been thinking about picking up for a while. I think I said this before. This was supposed to be my friends and I book club book last year at some point. I think it was like October, November. We picked this book, and then we just never we never met to to talk about this book, and then we just kind of moved forward and continued on with our book club. Like, this book didn't even get picked. So, and lastly, from my April hopefuls, Funny Story by Emily Henry. Enough Said. This was one of her new releases, and she already just came out, or is coming out with another book release this month, and I'm behind in the times with Emily Henry. I've read all her other books except this one, and then obviously the new one. So, super excited to read this story. I love it. I can't wait. I'm super excited. And this is the one where okay, she's falling in love. This is the last sentence of this book. She's falling in love with her ex-fiance's new fiance's ex. Girl, what? Next up is another completed series that I bought, and I'm an Anna Huang stan. If you didn't know this, I am. I'm absolutely in love with her. Platonically, of course. And I bought her If Love series, and I haven't read this. I've read all her other series. I'm up in the times with Anna Huang. I just never read these books, so I'm super excited to start this series. I've heard mixed reviews, so I'm a little nervous, but super excited for this. Next on my list is Redeemed by Lauren Asher. I picked this series up about a couple months ago, like right before Christmas. I got through the first book. Oh no, I read the first book in July when I was at the beach. Loved the first book. Read the second book, was like, eh. Read the third book and was like, ugh. And then now I can't pick up the fourth because I was just not into it. Again, mood reader strikes again. Did I actually not like it, or was I just not in the mood for it? Could be a possibility. Anyway, the last book in this series. The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna is something that I bought because, number one, Kristen Hanna is super popular right now, and my workbook club was like, hey, we're reading this book 2 months ago, and I was like, oh, I can read that in 2.5 weeks. Easy. And I never picked the book up and did not come to book club that month. Sorry, guys. So, yeah. I didn't read the book, but one day I will. I heard Kristen Hanna is great, and there's a couple that I follow on Book Talk, and I love them, and I can't remember their names, but yeah, I love them, and his wife always rants and raves about Kristen Hanna, and he does too. Anyway, moving on. A Betrayal of Storms by Ben Alderson. This was my long distance bestie and I's book club pick this past month. It was February's pick. And again, I have been in a fantasy reading slump. I cannot pick up a fantasy book to save my life. I read the first chapter, and you can see there's a bookmark at the first, going into the second chapter. I read the first chapter of this book 7 times and was like, I give up. I cannot pick up a fantasy book. You want to talk about it, or you want to talk about what you did, or? Okay. No, I'm just... So yeah, I haven't been able to pick this up, and I'm sorry, Wes. Okay, moving on from the TBR cart to the bottom shelf. And we got a lot more to go through, guys. I'm sorry. Tiffany Patterson, trust me, this is a like arranged marriage. Yeah, this marriage isn't one of convenience. It's for vengeance. So like it was following, I got this in my Hello Lovely box, and this was kind of following the same tropes as Twisted Games, or similar tropes to Twisted Games Anna Huang. So yeah, super excited to read this. Then we have, which also came in my Hello Lovely box, is Bright Lights and Summer Nights by Kat Singleton. And again, this is like forbidden love, possible marriage, or fake dating kind of trope. So super excited. That's like one of my biggest reading tropes is fake dating or like marriage of convenience. Love those 2 tropes the most because you know the tension is always super high. I love that. Next is a bunch of Carissa Broadbent books. This is the 3rd book in the Crowns of Nyxia series, The Songbird and the Heart of Stone. I read the first book. I absolutely loved it. I read the second book. I absolutely hated it. I have yet to pick up the 3rd book. My fiance got me this for Christmas, and I can't. I don't know. Like a lot of people, and this was something I was talking about with some of my book talker friends on TikTok and Instagram, was, do I pick this book up? Because I don't know if I can. I don't know. So, you know. We have Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. I don't know what series this is a part of. I know that the worlds are like interchangeable to each other. So I believe this is like tied in somehow. Again, I haven't been following her all that much, and these are stories that I really do want to read. So yeah, I'm super excited to read this one eventually at some point. And then I heard amazing things of The Daughter of No Worlds. This is the first book in this part of the series, and I am super excited to read this. Cover art just really made me pick this up because doesn't she look like a badass? Like, I want to be her. A dress with a sword, full glam makeup. Girl. Okay. Anyway. Up next, we have the Coven of Bone series, which is The Coven by Harper L. Woods and The Curse. They're like small little books, and they have the cutest sprayed edges. I also got these for Christmas. I have yet to pick these up. Again, we're in that fantasy slump right now, and I just haven't picked these up, but they're so tiny, and I feel like I can get through these if like they're good enough. But I've heard mixed things, so I'm a little scared. Y'all are about to hate me for this, but I have yet to pick up When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I don't want to talk about it. I don't know why. Again, like, I think there's just so many other books that I was like worried about reading or wanting to read, and I just kept putting this on the back burner, and I had it on KU for a while, and then I got this for Christmas as a gift, and yeah, I just still haven't picked this book up, but I've heard so many great things about this story, and I want to read it so bad, but again, I can't get out of this slump. Somebody help me. Anyway, again, that couple that I follow on TikTok recommended this series, Penn Cole's Spark of the Everflame, and I heard awesome things about this book, and I just so want to pick this up badly. And yeah, so I'm super excited to get to this at one point. We have The Butcher Game, which is the 2nd book in this series. This is by Elena Urquhart. Urquhart? You tell me. Anyway, she's a podcaster. She's on Morbid Podcast. If you have not listened to them, her podcast is so great. She does it with her sister, I believe, or her whatever, how they're related to each other. But they do a podcast together. It is absolutely amazing. It's so fun. They're hilarious. And her sister Ash is, or cousin, whoever she is, to her is so stinking funny. Anyway, but she wrote a book called The Butcher and the Wren, and the book was awesome. So I got for Christmas The Butcher Game, which is the second book to the first, and I just can't wait to read this book. It's on my forward TBR. Like, I'm super excited to read this series. It's gonna be so darn good. Next is Devil's Creek by Todd Kingsling. I met him, here he is, in my local Barnes & Noble, and he said, Kaylee, it's time to go to church, and he signed my book for me, and I've yet to pick this series up. He seems super nice, and the book seems super cool. Again, intimidating. It's super thick, but again, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get through all these books, but I've heard great things about this, and I'm super excited to read it. Again, this is another book y'all are gonna come for my throat. You haven't read this yet? No, I haven't. I'm sorry. Bright Young Woman. Everybody keeps telling me I need to read this book. I picked this up like a year and a half ago and then never touched it again. It has been sitting on my bookshelf. It was dusty. I had to wipe it down. Anyway, I am super excited to read this book. Next up is the Plated Prisoner series. This has been on my TBR since I started reading fantasy 2 years ago. I have been putting this off for so long, and I have the first 3 books in the series, and I've heard such amazing things about this series. So my plan is to start this series very soon, but the Gilded series is on my TBR by Raven Kennedy, and I can't wait to read it. Like I said, when I think about like the books that I have and when I like read them or I like think about them again, like sitting down and doing something like this, I'm like, why am I waiting to do this? You know, like, why am I waiting to read these books? It's stupid. Just say it. Kaylee, you're a freaking idiot. Anyway, really testing me with the titles of these names. Please have, like, a glossary. Of course not. Why would you? This is by Laura Thalassa. You could see the title. I'm not going to make a fool out of myself to try to pronounce this. But anyway, this is something that, again, I put on my TBR when I was super into fantasy and I wasn't a mood reader and I could read whatever I wanted and it didn't affect myself. And so now I have it sitting on my shelf and I have yet to pick it up again. These are one of these books where I'm either going to pick it up and absolutely love it and buy the rest of the series and finish reading it, or I'm going to absolutely hate it and I'm going to end up giving this to a friend or donating it. So could go either way. Again, another book that has been on my TBR because of, you know, fantasy and loving it so much and then doing a total 180 and being done. A Ruin of Roses by K.F. Breen, and again, this looks super cool. I could save him, but he would ruin me. The beast, the creature who stalks the forbidden wood, the dragon prince. He has suffered a fate worse than death. We all have. A curse put upon us by the mad king. Cool. Honestly, this kind of reminds me of something else. The Shepherd's King series, maybe? Anyway. But yeah, so this is something, again, I'm reading the back of it. Now I'm interested in reading this. So I just need to start reading the backs of the books. A Ruin of Roses. This has been on my TBR for a while. It's just something I want to get to again. Next up on my list is What We Devour by Lindsay Miller. And this is, like, again, I think another fantasy romance. She marries her best friend Julian, but when a notoriously bloodthirsty crown prince comes to arrest Julian's father, he immediately recognizes Lorena for what she is. She makes a deal and a fair trial for her betrothed's father in exchange for her service to the crown. So this seems super fun, super exciting. Another one you guys are gonna come for my throat for, and I'm sorry. Again, this has been on my TBR for so long. A Touch of Darkness. This is a take on Hades and Persephone, and I just love anything that has to do with Greek mythology and retelling. So it kind of reminds me of Promises and Pomegranates. So I think I'm going to pick this up even quicker than I intended to. But I have been putting this off for so long and I've heard amazing things about this series and I heard it's just the best. So I'm super excited to start this. But again, it's been sitting here for almost 2 years on my TBR and I need to stop. And lastly, The King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. And again, this is just a fantasy romance. There's vampires and all that kind of fun stuff. And again, I was in like my vampire fantasy era. And yeah, so I haven't touched this book. And that is my final book on the TBR. And again, I'm like super excited. And because I'm a mood reader, I can't do any fun things like pick from a TBR jar, or let's blind pick a book. I can't do that because then if I'll open every single book or I'll pick everything out of the jar, I'll lie. You guys don't want me to lie. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video of going through what's on my TBR. As you can see, there's a lot. I did not count them. I have absolutely no idea. I think the last time I counted, I had like 52. It has to be less by now because I've been getting through a lot of my TBR, but fingers crossed that in the next 2 months, that's my goal, is like by mid-year to get done with my TBR so I can start buying books again. I'm not having fun. I want to buy books, but I'm holding myself accountable, guys. Accountability is key. Anyway, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.